What's up, my brothers and sisters of iron, my fringe fam out there? It's Peter Keller, aka PK from Fringe Sport, and I'm here in my garage gym in Austin, Texas. And what I'm here today to talk to you about is what to do when your bench wobbles. So, we hear often from people who are like, I got this bench, it's great, but it wobbles just a little bit. In 9 out of 10 times, it is an assembly issue that is causing that bench to wobble. So what do? All right, I'm sitting on a prototype of our fat pad powerlifting bench, the fatty, the short fatty. Anyways, but it's not wobbling, but I want to show you the proper way to assemble a bench so that you're not going to have any problem with it being uneven or wobbling. So, when you have a bench that has just come out of the box, you want to lay it on its back with its feet facing the air so that you can start assembling that bench. And then what you're going to want to use is, you can use a wrench, but really the best thing to do is use one of these clicky-clacky ratchet things. So, while the bench has its feet in the air, you're going to want to mostly assemble the bench. And so I've actually already assembled this bench. So what I'm doing here is I'm just loosening it up. Now, when you have mostly assembled the bench, you're going to want to get all of these bolts that attach the frame together. You're going to want to get them in, but you're not really going to want to get them that tight. And the reason you're not going to want to get them that tight is with the bench with its feet in the air, if you tighten those bolts down right now, you might tighten them so that they're slightly off center. Then when you flip that bench over and put it on level ground, even though the ground may be level, the bench will not be level because you've mistightened. So what you want to do is you want to assemble the bench with its legs facing up. Get these bolts in and get them finger tight. So tighten them down with your fingers, and that's great. Then what you want to do is flip that bench over. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to flip this bench. All right, so now the bench is right side up. Instead of those legs jutting up into the air, the bench is the way that you want it. And ideally what you're going to do is you're going to assemble this bench on a level flat surface that is the same surface on which you're going to be using the bench. Because we've seen people assemble a bench over to the side, and then when they move it to where they're going to use it, it wobbles. And the problem was that either where they assembled it is not level, or where they're using it is not level. So now that you've got it where you're going to use it, it's right side up, and those bolts are only hand tight, you're going to go down with your socket wrench and you're going to tighten them all the rest of the way down. And the way that you typically do that, the way I was taught, which is a great way, is instead of tightening and going like in a circle, you're going to try to tighten opposite bolts. So you're going to try to tighten a bolt on this side, then a bolt on that side, and then go around until everything's tight. So let's do that now. So I'm tightening up here. Now I'm going to check down here. Make sure this guy's nice and tight. Now I'm going to come back up here. Tightens that guy's nice and tight. Now I'm going to check over here. Tighten that guy nice and tight. And then I'm going to check these bolts here. And then here. All right. So the bench is not wobbling. So let's review really quickly. If you've got a wobbly bench, it's probably due to an assembly issue 9 out of 10 times. Now let's go over why you might have a wobbly bench one more time. So the first reason is that you might have assembled the bench and tightened the bolts all the way down with the legs facing up to the ceiling. Now how do you fix that? You just loosen those bolts, make sure that the bench is right side up, in other words, the cushion to the ceiling, and then tighten those bolts down again using the opposite bolt tightening scheme that I just told you about. And when you're tightening the bolts down, make sure you are using a socket wrench or some other type of wrench not just your little fingers. Now, the other reason that we sometimes see that a bench is not level is that you've tightened all the bolts on one side, and it's like you tighten them down, cranked them way down, and so the bench is kind of tilted over to that side. That's why we want you to tighten one side, the other side, one side, the other side. So tighten opposite bolts one after another. So that's a way to fix that issue. Another reason that we occasionally see for an unlevel bench is that you've assembled the bench somewhere else, maybe even just slightly beside where you're going to use the bench, and then you move the bench to where you're going to use it, and either the ground where you originally assembled the bench is not level, but where you're using the bench is, or vice versa. So that's another reason we see for unlevel benches. So really, if you have a bench that's wobbling in any way, all you really need to do is grab your handy dandy socket, make sure that the cushion is facing to the ceiling, loosen all the bolts until you can move them back and forth with your hands, your fingers, and then switch your socket over to tightening and then re-tighten it down. That's it. And then you're going to fix 90% of your bench wobbling problems. So this has been Peter from Fringe Sport, where we exist to help improve lives through strength by helping you build an amazing gym in your garage and helping entrepreneurs grow thriving local community gyms. I hope that this video has been helpful for you. If it has, like, subscribe, visit us, give us a call at Fringe Sport. You can find us at fringesport.com. Now, lift heavy, lift happy.